Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. It's not like,
Man. Thank goodness.
Good afternoon. This is the Talking Bull. What's going on, guys? Filling in for Dozza and True Blue, who were unable to make it this afternoon. What's going on? Who's out there? Let me know. Type something in the chat. Let me know that someone's out there. Okay. So, here all on my own today, which is not a usual occurrence. I usually have someone holding my hand, but why don't we have a look at what is going on with the RH ecosystem and some of the prices. So I think that's a good starting point. Let's have a look. Okay, so this website is plsfolio.com, and I only found out about it this week. And as you can see, we can see all the RH core coins here, and all the relevant details. You can see Pulse is 0.00002285, which is 0.23 of sacrifice price. PLSX is 0.00002037, which is 0.2 of sacrifice. Hex is sitting on just over half a cent at 0.5385. And Hex from Ethereum is sitting on 0.1546 of a cent. And we've got Inc here, incentive token, which is $1.22. So yeah, that's basically that's basically what we're looking at the moment. So yeah, this is from what I can see, this site allows you to, if you go click on this section here where it says portfolio, this site allows you to enter addresses and see what everything's worth. So sort of like a, I would say like a Go Pulse type setup, which also allows you to enter it. Let me just switch over to that. We'll have a look at Go Pulse here, where you can, also see the prices, but then you can click on the portfolio section and put in all your RH ecosystem addresses, and it will show you Ethereum. Like Go Pulse will show you Ethereum, and I'm not sure about the PLS folio. I think that also shows you Ethereum. So, yeah, I am. Tell me, guys, what is on your mind? What is on your mind? I'm, as I said, I'm here last minute filling in for Dozza and True Blue, and this week, the last few days, I think the one thing that I've seen that seems to have done quite well in the RH ecosystem is that that most meme coin or whatever it was that was released. I'm not sure if I can see that here. Is that going to be here? Maybe not. Meme coins. Maybe not. Maybe not here. I'm sure I can find it somewhere else. Maybe Dex Screener, hey? Dex Screener. So yeah, that one seems to have pumped considerably in the last little while off its bottom, which was I think it was like 2 cents maybe, for memory. But we'll bring that up in a second, and have a look at the chart and see what it's telling us. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So this is this token, this meme coin, most, and we can see down here it got all the way down to like 2.5 cents, and then it from that low it pumped all the way to like 8.6, 8.7 cents, and that was on the 22nd of March. Then we had like a period of time where it consolidated here in between the like the 4 and the 6 cent mark, and now it seems to have pumped up again here to like the just under the 80, just under the 7.5 cents. Now it's down at 6.5 cents. Interesting. It's a bit of movement. Seems to have done a lot better. Like, what is that? 0.2, what, 300%, 200%? 200%. There we go. 200% pump. Not bad. I don't think anyone is going to argue with that, given how things have been in the rest of the ecosystem. So let me go to the chat and say g'day. We've got Doc Lover 100, Mr. Fast Abdul. What's going on, Fast Abdul? More than welcome to come on if you'd like. When does the bleeding stop? Need a transfusion? Yes, feels a lot like that. Sounds like 43. Yeah. It does sound like 43, doesn't it? Funny that. What else have we got? Okay. Yes, you should fear for the safety of the regular hosts. I don't know where they are, but I saw a clip on YouTube, a guy suggesting that if you're ever going to, and I am joking, of course, I'm going to, say that in advance. If you're ever burying bodies in the garden, you're supposed to put native plants on top of it, grow native plants on top of it, so that when they come into the backyard, they can't dig them up because it's like against the law or whatever. I saw that. I thought that was funny. Not my recommendation. On YouTube. It was on YouTube. Okay, Doc Lover, what have we got here? If you have time, could you talk about your recommendations on privacy in crypto? Interesting software and processes to keep one's crypto away from casual prying eyes. That's a very sort of broad, casual prying eyes. That's a very like broad sort of question. Like, what are we talking about here? I think as a starting point, you probably, if you're interested in keeping your crypto, what's in your crypto addresses private, probably don't want to be sending stuff from those addresses to people you know. You want to find some other way to do that. I think a good way around that is to maybe some of these sites that allow you to swap things will also allow you to put in, actually I don't know if that will even work. I think there was, I think there's a website called Houdini Swap, which I believe will allow you to put in another address that you want it to go to, and then it can route stuff through. I think it might route stuff through um, Monero or whatever if you want it to, and that's one way. If you need to send someone, X amount of whatever, um, X amount of whatever coins, then you could always, you can do that. That's one way to do it. Just 1 second. I'm just going to send a link over. Yeah, so that's one way to do it. There are other privacy solutions, I believe. I mean, it depends what you're trying to achieve. I mean, that's, I think, sending it through some of these privacy protocols. I believe there's a new one on Ethereum called Privacy Pools, which is in beta at the moment. I looked at it briefly, but it's in beta, and it was like it gave you seed phrase on the screen, and it, like, there's a couple of things about, and oh yeah, and it like you'd put, if you put stuff in there, it will like hold it pending for 7 days or something along those lines. And so yeah, I guess that's more for people who want to play around with, you know, I personally, I don't think that's for most people. That's probably for advanced. I wouldn't even touch that until it's out of beta. But there's other things. There's I think you can't go past Monero. If you can bridge across to Monero, I, you know, as I understand it, that is probably one of the better ways to obfuscate. You know, it's because I don't believe there's a block explorer in Monero, and I think that's the whole point of it. And you can't look into people's addresses. There's no way to. So yeah, it's there's that. On a if we're talking about like just general computing, I'm falling out of love with. Not that I was ever really in love with it, but I'm not a massive fan of not really a massive fan of Windows. I feel like let me see if I can set this up in the right way. There we go. How about this? Yes. Windows is an operating system. I don't really like the way these mainstream operating systems are going, the direction they're going in. I believe that I think that the tech could, like with AI, could get to the point where it's being used as surveillance on what people are doing, like in minute to minute. It could get to that point. So I'm not a fan of these major ones like Windows and Mac. I like I much prefer the open source kind of operating systems. You know, there are some major drawbacks, unfortunately, but you know, there's some good stuff as well. There's some good stuff in that. So let me, can I get rid of this screen? Remove. There we go. I'm still battling with using this restream. I'm still battling with it. Is there someone else here? No. And yeah, so I was expecting someone to show up today at 5:30, but unfortunately they must have I don't know. Maybe nature called. Who knows? You never know, man. You never know. So yeah, what else have we got here? Also, if you have time, a brief chat about the new wave of hardware wallets aimed to make crypto easier to work with. The 2-button ledger is so 1980s. I have a really unpopular opinion when it comes to hardware wallets. And if someone like Papa Boner was here, he would probably argue with me until he's blue in the face. But, you know, for me, the jury's still out on this stuff. You know, I don't particularly like the idea that if you have a Trezor, that it goes and connects to the Trezor server every time you connect up and want to do a transaction. I think that sucks. Why? Why does it do that? I don't like it. You know, there might be a very good reason why it needs to do that, but I would have thought if you're generating a signature for something, surely that can be done on the device and there's no need for it to talk with a server somewhere. That's just my so yeah, from that perspective, you know, sometimes I wonder. I can't. I mean, they're right. Like guys like Papa Bone, he's right when it's like it is probably the safest way for the average person to use crypto. But it just grinds my gears. It grinds my gears when I see it connecting up to like a Trezor server. It's like, why does it need to do that? I don't understand why they need to do that. It's like it just seems like unnecessary. Yeah, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff. And by the way, I've always had this sort of disdain for having to connect up to other people's computers unnecessarily. Ever since back in the day, way before crypto, MYOB, I used to use this software called MYOB, and we had like this. They would send us a CD, and I'd install it and upgrade it every. Would upgrade it every like whatever 6 months or a year or whatever. You'd pay your subscription and get a new CD and would upgrade with all the new features. And then like the whole industry, the whole like accounting and bookkeeping industry, and a lot of other stuff as well went to this SaaS model where it's like software as a service. And you know, I understand the progress and moving in that direction, but I was not a fan of it. Not a fan of the idea that just not a fan of the idea that these people are like they've just got control of everything. Like they're controlling everything now. Before I could just have like the software installed on my computer and just use it as I saw fit. And then if I didn't pay the subscription, I just wouldn't get the updates, right? I wouldn't get the updates. But let me just bring Fast Abdul up. What's going on?
Hey, 43. Saw you're flying solo here. Thought I'd drop by.
I appreciate it, mate. I'm just
No problem.
it's not really my I don't usually fly solo. I like to have someone to bounce ideas off. But I'm just here today because I'm doing Dozza and Hex Enthusiast a solid and running the show for today. What's
Yeah,
been
it's
going on,
cool.
man? What do you got to tell me?
I've been pretty busy working on my various protocols. We've got to come up with some new stuff. It's cool. So just gonna keep building.
Yeah, that's all you can do, man. Because even though Bitcoin has had a bit of a bear market, we're well and truly sorry, a bit of a bull market, I should say. We're well and
Yep.
truly still in a bear market right here. So they do say build in the bear market.
I think it
But
is
yeah, I was
still
just
a bull
saying
market, in my opinion.
it
Just
is,
not on
it
PulseChain
is
so much, right?
not on PulseChain and not that much on Ethereum.
Definitely true.
But
Yeah, we got
yeah, I
$1,800
was just saying.
Ethereum today.
I know it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful, but maybe they want all the FTX people to be able to buy in at the price that they got scammed at. They all got scammed at about this price, so maybe that's what
Oh, that
the
makes sense.
maybe that's some manipulation going on to keep the price down so they can get in. I don't know.
Not impossible.
Bit of fan fiction theory right there. But I was just saying before that uh, with MYOB, the software program, that I used to get these CDs and install them on my computer to do accounting stuff, and then they moved to this SaaS model where they no longer sent you software and you had to connect to their servers via the web, and that's how everything was done. And I was just saying how much I always not liked that model. I can understand in certain circumstances where it's better or it's easier, but I've actually really always been the biggest fan of having software on your own device and just running that software. And if you need to connect to the internet for XYZ, you do that. But just running things locally. So I've always been a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, the
Um,
concept's good. And you can, if you understand how things work, then you can segregate a computer, like don't use your crypto computer for like gaming and porn, that sort of thing, and do just fine.
Now we had someone in the chat, Doc Lover 100, who was asking about privacy and what like and one of his comments that he wrote here was to do with transactions and sending people being able to see uh, transactions. Once you give them your address, they can see what you're doing. Do you have uh, any pointers or anything? I mentioned briefly that there are some protocols that you can use like Houdini Swap and you can bridge to Monero. You can do like different sorts of things to obfuscate. But do you, do you know
Yeah,
of any, or do you use any that
sure.
or have you heard of any that
I'm not
are useful?
there's a couple simple techniques, right? Like I'm not like I don't really worry about that stuff personally. As far as like because there's always somebody tracking wallets. If you give somebody your wallet address, yeah, of course they can always see that wallet address like on regular EVM chains. In that case, you mentioned Monero. Obviously, that's a good technique, but some people might not want to go to those lengths. There's like different levels of obfuscation you can do without having to be a tech genius. The most obvious one is to move out to a centralized exchange and then move back to a different wallet. Like that's not not very trackable. It's often how scammers exit an ecosystem is by getting onto a centralized exchange, and then nobody can really see where the money goes. As long as you're not moving like, 17 million ETH or something, then it's pretty easy to be like, that's probably the same guy who moved 17 million ETH yesterday. But if you're moving
It also
$10,000, you move it onto Binance, you move it back off, like nobody's going to be able to track that.
it's I mean that's I think that particular technique is a good one, but it also depends
Yeah.
which exchange you're using, because some exchanges and that I've seen, they actually give you an EVM address that is your
Oh,
address
they
that
do,
you
eh?
send stuff to. But
Interesting.
it's the same EVM address. So if they were to track you sending stuff in there, they can then it then goes into a general pool, right? But then they can still see what comes in and out of that EVM address. So there's you're still sort of giving
Yeah,
away
yeah. If you have an
something.
EVM address assigned to your wallet to yourself, then yeah, that would wreck that whole plan.
But I think some of the other ones they've got a different system in place, and that is a very legitimate way of obfuscating and not giving away what's. Then you can just go out into a different wallet and
Yep.
do it that way. Um, there's things like Railgun. It's almost like there's a ZK layer where you can then come back out of that layer into any address that you want. So that's another option for people.
And there's no
But it is
block
on
explorer
the
for that layer that shows where things came from.
no, not for that layer. There's no block explorer for that layer. Only you can see. What there is though is that there's a viewing key that you can give to anyone if they need to audit the address. So that's why that's a good idea for that could be a good solution for businesses, because whilst you don't want everyone you pay to have access to what's going on, you do want to give the entities that require it the transparency into what's going on. So there's and you can
Yeah.
do that with a viewing key, which is different to like a private key. It just means that they can see what's going on behind, but they can't change anything. However, once you've given them that viewing key, you can't revoke it. So that is worth, you know,
Right. You
um,
permanently given them that PN key. Of course, you could probably switch something so that it was a different key was required by, bridging out and back in somewhere else.
you could
What
probably just
about
set up another wallet, and do like, and the good thing about that stuff though, yeah, that whole process is that um, you can transfer that ZK layer. You can transfer from one to another ZK address. So you can just transfer to another, and it's I think it's very cheap, and it's an option, but it is more on the sort of nerdy side of you have to run special software, and then when you're taking funds out of that layer, that ZK layer, you sort of need to have there has to be either a relayer or a I forget what it's called. Like there has to be a node or a relayer that can pay for the transaction. So it can be a little bit of a pain if you're not, like all of crypto. It's all pretty much a pain in the ass.
Yeah, just different levels of pain in the ass. That one does sound particularly nerdy. The other one that I think is still an option for a lot of people is there's things like Tornado Cash, right, or like privacy pools where you enter a large pool and then you're able to take it out to a different wallet and um, nobody can
Yeah,
see the
yeah.
connection between the two wallets.
I like the model of privacy pools. I like that model because that is very much like the railgun model, where there's like I believe there's another layer It's like a ZK layer. But the problem with it at the moment, as I was saying earlier, was it's in beta at the moment, and there's a 7-day pending wait time, and there's also a section at when you're setting it up, they put like a 12-word seed phrase on the screen, and you're supposed to use that, and it's like, yeah, I pass, hard pass on this, hard pass on. Anytime you're getting seed phrases on your screen, I'm like, hard pass.
Yeah, that is a flaw. And like, God forbid, if you lost any part of that, you'd have a large problem, right?
Well, it's beta, and they say at the top, if you lose your money, it's gone. It's like bad luck. So me personally, I prefer not to play with stuff that's still like that. When it, if you want to use a beta, do it on a test net, but not I think you're risking too much to be the beta tester on that stuff. But yeah,
agreed.
Railguns. I think Railgun's a good option for if anyone wants to, do that. I think that they got the balance right with the viewing key. I really wish PulseChain could be incorporated into it, because there's a few. I think there's BNB, and there's Ethereum, and I think there might be, if I'm not mistaken, there might be another one as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, yep, there's that. And let's see here, who else is in the chat here?
Richard Hart's been talking about privacy pools more than once. I'm thinking maybe we get something like that on PulseChain sometime in the future.
Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of users. We do have something like that, don't we? Don't we have like the ZK-ZX, which is the Tornado Cash 4?
Yep, we have that.
Now I know that they tainted that by launching a coin and then rug pulling or something. So they tainted that whole thing, but I don't think that has anything to do with the protocol itself, which I believe still works. But
I think people would feel a lot better about one that was directly connected to PulseX or something like that, though, right?
Oh, it's in like the front end.
Yeah.
Well, I think
if you went to PulseX.com and that was just one of your options.
Yeah. That's a tough one, isn't it? Because no devs, given the given what's gone on with devs and Tornado Cash and all that sort of stuff over the last couple of years, I don't think many devs want to sign up to being the face of that. And obviously, if you're putting that on a front end that's hosted somewhere, then there's always someone to go and find that did that. I would be very happy if they just release some software, much like the software that they've released for GoHex.com and the PulseX front end and the Explorer and the Bridge. I'd be very happy if they just came out with a piece of software that you could run locally, connects to the blockchain and does what it needs to do, and then there's that privacy as well, where there's no server somewhere that's logging the IPs of people who are going to use it. So it removes a whole layer of attack surface, if you know what I mean, like that whole legacy layer of attack surface, because you're just using that software on your system, and the packets are going out, and I'm assuming they're going to be encrypted, but yeah. I don't know. It's hopefully they do something like that. I think that would be something that the community supported for sure.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm being told I need to crank up the mic, hey?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Is
you
that better?
Be a little louder. Yep. Now I got to turn you down.
Hang on. I'll go down. There we go.
That's about right. Let us know in the audience if you feel different.
Yeah. So what else have we got here in the chat? I've got general discussion. Is the main is altcoins still for the nerds? Is altcoins still for the nerds? Can you decipher that question? Are crypto
Is the main
applications the
is
domain
altcoins stuff
only
for
for
the
the
nerds?
nerds? Flash loans, MEV.
Well, things like flash loans and MEV bots and stuff like that are, yeah, generally speaking, for the nerds. I don't think not very many people know how to take a flash loan using Aave or forks of Aave, where you have to provide your own code to do it usually. And not very many regular users are running their own MEV bots either. So definitely nerdy.
Yeah, it's way beyond. I think that's got a lot to do with people who are arbing things, and from my perspective, it doesn't seem like that's for the average user. I've certainly never had anything to do with them apart from hearing, MEV protection on Proteus and things like that.
Yeah,
when
MEV
I
bot
hear that
protection.
that's
Yeah,
what
the
they
average
do.
user needs that.
Yeah, when I hear that
843,
people,
Squirrel says you're
or
still quiet. So maybe crank her a bit.
I'm still quiet. Hey, let me have a look.
Yeah.
Can I do anything about this?
Or just turn it up again like you did before, probably.
Okay. All right.
There we go. That's great.
There we go. Okay, so what have we got here? We have privacy of paying folks or moving own coins around is very interesting, though more interesting in the apps that make it user-friendly and less esoteric hoops to jump through. Nothing on PulseChain. Yeah, I look, there is that ZKZX thing. I know that was forked. So there's an option there. But yes, if there was something that was RH sanctioned, then I'm sure that's going to get we're going to have like a Pareto effect when it comes to privacy stuff. It's 80% is going to go there at least, if not all. But yeah, is there anything interesting that's been going on in the last few days, Fast Abdul, that you can fill me in on? I know we're pretty low right now, and it feels like we say that every bloody week. But
are you familiar with the recent Rabby wallet debacle?
Yeah. I did see that. I would say that I'm, pretty displeased about it. One of the, HEXican, he was the first guy who ever heard of talking about Rabby, and he was. Hang on, let me just. I've got someone here. Mr.
Hey.
T-Bird.
What's up, guys?
Greetings, sir.
How
are you?
How's my audio? The audio's all right?
Seems
me.
okay. Maybe up a bit.
All right, one sec. How you guys doing?
Glad to see you have an understanding that this was a sunglasses stream. Sunglasses required.
Sunglasses required.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, so we were just talking about Rabby, T-Bird.
Yeah, so yeah, that's.
Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I've been very explicit in my thoughts on my Twitter account over the last couple of days with everything that's been going on there. To be not too blunt about it, it's pretty disgusting. Especially given that Rabby hasn't even come out and given like at least some level of clarity with why they decided to unintegrate PulseChain when we already were integrated. It's not like we weren't ever integrated with them, and then they're still not giving us the sort of respect as a chain. But this is like, it's sort of like, being in a narcissistic relationship. You're constantly, and it's at the start everything seems great, and then all of a sudden the narc just cans you out of nowhere and doesn't give you a reason for it. So yeah, it's pretty.
Just 2-3 weeks before, they were talking about opening like a bridge to PulseChain where people could pay with a credit card and stuff like that. They made an announcement like on like March 15th or something. So it was kind of came as a big surprise, I think.
Yeah, I think it did come as a surprise for a lot of people. Definitely came as a surprise for me, and quite disappointing because I feel like Rabby had probably the best user experience as a software wallet. Even if you didn't use it as like the primary wallet and you just used it as the conduit to connect to your hardware, I thought that it was great. It estimated gas really well, did lots of things really well, but it makes, I mean, I'm going to speculate that I believe that this was someone, maybe a VC, tapped someone on the shoulder and said, hey, cut this out. Because it was just so, there's no reason. Like it doesn't even make sense that you would cut out like the fifth, the chain with the fifth biggest volume. Just doesn't make much sense, right? Unless, of course,
I think
it's some
they're going off the
level of
PI
gatekeeping.
stuff.
But why would they
I honestly
care?
think it's
what I mean? Like,
all
why
the PI.
would they care about that?
Well, here's the theory, and Triplet Dad actually came up with this, is like Rabby and D-Bank are the same company, right?
Yep.
So, and actually, to me, D-Bank is at least as big a loss as Rabby as far as, because it had a fair amount of utility, especially for new people. But with the last 2 weeks, there's been these opposing factions talking about, PDI is good, PDI is bad, and so on and so forth. But what they're doing a lot of is posting links to D-Bank wallets on Twitter, right? Again and again, right? Like showing like this wallet did this wallet did this. Like that's their main tool. And it's probably starting to show up in the feeds of some of these guys, like the D-Bank or Rabby VCs, right? And so I could see that as a reason they'd be like, oh, there's a problem here. Let's take a step back, right? Because there's no other logical thing that I could think of. Like the SEC case was dismissed pending, the SEC. It's not finalized, but it was dismissed. So pending being finalized, that was still a thing, right? But they gave us the Rabby wallet like way before that happened, right? Like before the case was dismissed. So why would they do it after the case was dismissed? That seems unlikely. So yeah, that's kind of just the main unsavory news item from an outsider looking in, where they would, might, and if they just absorb like all the surface information, they might think like, oh, there's this whole chain has an exploit, which is not accurate, right? What do you guys think of that?
What you're talking about there, Fast Abdul, is pretty on point. I can see from their perspective why, from an optics standpoint, why it would appear to be something that could be more malicious than what it actually is. But these guys are basically devs, the D-Bank guys, and in conjunction with Rabby, they know that they would at least do it. You would expect, at least to a modest degree, that they would at least do some kind of research into what was actually going on with PDI or whatever. But yeah, I mean, still, you could sort of say that might be at least a partial contributor to why they might have done it. But it's still, for me, that's not that's not a valid enough reason to totally
yeah.
to totally disengage
Agree.
with a top 5 blockchain.
If I'm trying to be like fair, like why would a company do that? And the only thing that I came up with, you know, and trying to be fair, like, you know, maybe our you know, our users, you know, the RH ecosystem users, PulseChain users, maybe they don't use their swaps or their you know, the things that they're going to be making money off. Maybe we don't use them much. And then
Yeah.
and then also maybe
could have
we,
made it work
but
so many
also
ways.
not only that.
What's an example
Let,
of that?
let me finish the point.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't use enough, like maybe we don't like contribute enough in the way of fees or whatever by using those services that they offer. But on top of that, maybe we are very heavy users of their resources because we're such heavy users of the wallet, you know, and maybe the two for them don't, like they're like, oh, look, this PulseChain, they contribute so little in the way of fees or whatever. They don't use our swap. They're everyone's using their own, like, you know, they're using Proteus or they're using something else. They're using their own thing. But they're using so many resources.
What are you talking about exactly when you say using their swap? What swap feature? Actually, the swap. You're talking about the swap feature that's actually on the Rabby wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many DeFi users would actually use that swap feature on their wallet?
I think more like in other ecosystems, like we're so used to not using those features, but I think other users would use those features a lot, just the average users, because it's the easiest thing for them. They go, oh, I've got a wallet here, I'm going to swap. Yeah, I just click this button and I do it. It's easy. But we go out of our way not to use those features. Like our community really does go out of our way not to use those features because we want to get the best deal and we want to use the best like DeFi stuff. And we know that if we use those ones, they're going to get like some sort of extra fee, which means that I'm going to get less coins.
But
this is just a theory. I'm not.
I get that sort of devil's advocate.
I'm not taking this to, you know, I'm not going to die in the hill of this argument.
Yeah, I get that devil's advocate argument, but it still doesn't warrant the level of hostility that we've received from them, because we haven't actually been in any way hostile, and even further than that, we've actually been insanely friendly in terms of how many people we've as a community as a whole.
Oh yeah,
we've gotten people onboarded into DeFi.
We probably onboarded
because of the Rabby wallet.
100,000
because Rabby itself basically is a full replacement of MetaMask in terms of how MetaMask functions. And MetaMask, as you know, pretty much everyone that's even slightly experienced in DeFi will know that MetaMask is pretty much shit the bed. So, but yeah, it's still, for me, it doesn't justify their actions. And even if they put out a specific justification or a reason, and it was a reason or justification that we didn't agree with, at least they actually put something out there so that we could actually be like, okay, that's their reason. It's not a justifiable reason, but at least they put it out so that we actually understand their actual position. By not actually putting out any position at all and being completely silent, that just breathes, like, it stinks of malice to me.
Well, my whole theory, we can throw that out with the toilet water, because apparently that swap feature wasn't even activated. So
there you go. There you go. So it wasn't even there.
They paid a price for this, though, to be sure. Their ratings have gone down on most rating platforms, the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, Trustpilot. They've gone down a lot, a lot. I believe on Trustpilot, their score went from 4 to 1. I got the on the App Store, the Rabby wallet went down to 1.5. So that's pretty bad. I think Apple might take them down.
Yeah,
And
AEST
debank's down to 2.7.
Sorry, go on.
Yep. Or debank's down to 1.9 now on the App Store.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So
I'm in two minds about this.
There's a financial cost to that.
Oh yeah, there's a financial cost to it, absolutely, and there's also a reputational cost to it for anyone that comes across that app and is thinking about installing it. I know from personal, I think we can all say that when we see an app that has such a low rating, we think twice before installing it. So that is what a bunch of vindictive crypto users we are.
No, well, the thing is, like when it comes to when it comes to like stuff, and this is basically, without getting too esoteric about it, the golden rule: do unto others as you would do unto you. So if some person or entity inflicts harm, the universal law dictates that the reciprocal action against that should be equal to or greater in the same way. So, and naturally, being in the snake year, the energy of vengeance is in the air as well. So that would be a contributing factor as well. So if you do that sort of thing, in that kind of prevailing energy, that's those are the and you're looking at a community that's like, price wise, we're still heavily down. So, and it's just been overall a pretty brutal bull market, if you can even call it a bull market. So there'll be a lot of people, like tens of thousands of people who are in PulseChain and Hex, are not going to have it. It's going to be like, well, the mindset will be, oh, well, there's nothing to lose by Savage getting back at them. So, anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of us feel like
I think
there's
it was
nothing to
interesting to
lose.
see the power of the community.
Sorry, Fast Abdul. We do have a crazy delay. I think we have like a 3 or 4 second delay. But you go, mate. You go.
I thought it was interesting to see the power of the community on this one. I was kind of two minds of like, okay, should we do this or should we not? And then I was like, okay, no, we're gonna take a win on this one. We're gonna fight back and see how much power there is there as a unity moment. And like, it was huge. Like one of my posts I did, I may have made a post where I described what would happen to the Ravi scores on every rating website if they received 1,000 negative reviews, and with links to where a person could place those reviews. And it's my second most viewed post in like just a couple of days. It has like 23,000 views, and got shared 117 times. Like, people rallied around this, and it's kind of impressive actually in a way, even though there's some negativity there, obviously.
And let it serve as a warning.
And to your point,
let it serve as a warning to any company out there that wants to mess with our community for no good reason. Like, if you've got a good reason, fair play. But if you want to mess with our community for no good reason, then let this serve as a warning to you. We can fuck your shit up if we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, and exactly to your point, Fast Abdul, like this has been like a staple aspect of HEXican culture for years. Is that like it's just a community that our bottom line will always be some respect, but if you cross a certain line, watch out, basically. So yeah, and they definitely deserve the treatment that they've gotten. And the thing is now is if they happen to decide to backtrack, or they feel in some way, whether it's from a marketing standpoint or business standpoint, that they should try to roll back the actions that they've made in terms of like taking PulseChain off their integrations. It's too little too late for them now, because it's sort of like it'll be sort of like them from a psychological standpoint. It'll be admitting of their wrongdoing, Like it'll be doubling down on their own damage. So they basically cornered themselves in a really bad position. And the thing is, like a lot of these guys, like D-Bank, Rabby, they'll be at least mostly devs, and a lot of these guys don't necessarily have a good understanding of marketing, and they're not necessarily business-minded people. Devs, the devs are generally just sort of coders, and they're not necessarily like, they don't have a good understanding of like the ramifications of taking an unwarranted bias against a specific community and the consequences for it. So,
I think there was an intention to do harm. That's my take. I think someone wants to make sure that we, PulseChain is less visible.
Yeah,
less visible.
100%. And I think there is also a possibility that, you can't have this. It's definitely within the realm of possibility that certain people, like high up enough in these companies, entities, protocols, for the right price, they can be, bought off to make certain actions stick, for whatever reason. And we all know just the kind of the unwarranted hostility that has been directed at Richard Hart and our community as a whole over the years. So it seems to be a very common trend that's taken place. I think that trend though is going to start reversing because of the win against the SEC. Even though technically that hasn't been 100% resolved because of the uncertainty around the extension and all that crap. But overall, there is going to be a sentiment shift now that the SEC has been essentially defeated. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out in that context.
What do you guys reckon is going to happen
We
with
have
this
a big day coming up.
these FTX payouts? Do you think they're going to hit the crypto market anytime soon?
Oh yeah, it always does. Oh, like how soon will it happen? Who knows? But when they do happen, like people will sell.
No, they get paid they get paid dollars though. They don't get paid in crypto. They just get the dollar value of when it happened. So it's actually, if anything, I think it's gonna be a positive.
Well, no, I think it has started. Has started. I caught a tweet. I think it was no less than a week ago. I saw a big account on Twitter. I think it was maybe 200K plus account that bragged about finally getting the payout, the FTX payout, and it was something in I think it was tens of thousands of dollars worth. So I'm pretty sure it's already started, but just very recently.
And they can buy ETH back at the same price.
That's a lot of money too, right?
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, so many people got wrecked on FTX during that time. There'd be massive payouts.
Did you guys see the interview with Sam Bankman-Fried and Tucker Carlson a few weeks back? Apparently, Sam Bankman-Fried didn't get authorization to do that interview. So he was just like, that's the sort of freedom that he must have had. He must have had internet, must have had devices, and he just had, like, he went out. I don't know how he got his hand on the device, but he did that interview without getting authorization, and now he's been transferred to like some other place. So he's not with P Diddy anymore. He's not chilling with P Diddy.
Oh man, that's too bad.
Yeah.
But obviously he wasn't in that harsh of conditions if he was able to privately conduct an interview using, a device with cellular Wi-Fi. Like, not so bad.
I don't even know if the device was allowed. I think it might have been like they might have snuck it in. or something along those lines. But on a different note, can you imagine P Diddy in jail doing freakouts, and then you've got like you've got SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, who was partial to a freak out of every now and then. Can you imagine what those guys got up to in there?
Yeah.
I don't want to. It gives me the creeps.
Yeah. Just, really just, bad people, man. Very bad people. I wouldn't want to even imagine it.
No. But yes, it's strange that both Dozza and True Blue haven't made it this week. Usually someone can make it, and those guys always have a call sheet of what they want to go through. Me, on the other hand, I've always been someone who just wings it. So if you guys have anything you want to...
So quickly, just to recap, because I've come in a little bit after, like anything that we wanted to rehash on some of the stuff you were talking about before I arrived, or what else?
We were talking about privacy, just like crypto privacy and security type stuff. What else were we talking about? There's some questions about that in the chat. So we were going over things like how you can obfuscate, if you're sending funds, how you can do that in a way that is not giving away, your net worth. So just stuff like that, just simple things, and some maybe not so simple things.
Yeah, cool. I'm just having a.
What do you have on your mind, sir?
Me? I just thought. Well, I spoke to 43 earlier today, and told me about the stream. So I thought I'd just jump in and join the conversation, and just try to inject those good vibes, which can be very difficult to do, given a lot of the psychological and emotional challenges that come with being where we're at, in terms of, I mean, not even just in the context of the PulseChain ecosystem and everything associated with Richard Hart. It's even just in the macro. I mean, Bitcoin isn't looking that strong. Ethereum is like trash. Everything's, not where I would say the vast majority of people would at least semi-expect it would be, given that we're already into quarter 2 of 25. But that's not to say that I've made it pretty clear on my own streams that my bullish sentiment doesn't shift at all. We're still early days in 25, cycle wise. Bitcoin is, even though it's sort of a bit left translated because of how early, at least its initial top, assuming it's only going to be just the one top, versus say last cycle we had the double run, and the double bubble, double top. But you would think that at least at some point down the line in this year, some sort of recovery has to be on the cards for Ethereum, which will invariably have a positive impact on PulseChain as well. Can
I give a little bit of perspective on what what we're looking at in terms of prices for the RH ecosystem?
Sure.
As you guys know, maybe a month or a month and a half ago, all the inflation cutting began. Like the ink inflation went down. What was it, 20x? All the OA was staking
More.
The OA was staking things for 15 years, which essentially cut everyone's HEX payout, daily payouts down by like 4x. What else was there? The Pulse, I don't think, has been affected. That's just ticking along as per usual. Was there anything else that?
Not yet.
They were
But
the
it could
major
be
ones.
in the future.
They were the major one. There was ink inflation and
No,
hex inflation.
inflation has been cut on PLS as well because of all the burning that's happening on pump tires.
Yes, there's that as well.
And
yes,
all of it happened at the same time.
Yeah, good point.
Always the inflation cuts in ink, all the staking, OA staking, and all that. And PulseX, it's doing its thing as always because it's inherently deflationary. But yeah.
But to my point,
I actually think PulseX has actually ramped up its deflation as well because of pump tires.
Burning, buy and burning.
Sort of like a byproduct of the burning that's happening on Pulse through pump tires because of the extra volume. Yeah.
So, but to my point, I think that prior to that happening, there were certainly a number of entities who were basically living off this inflation, hex inflation, and maybe to some extent ink inflation. And I think what this has done, and this may play out for maybe a few more months, maybe less, maybe more. Those entities now are forced to find profit somewhere. They need to be able to continue their lifestyle or continue to to make money somehow, and maybe they have to go into their principal. So I think in part that's what we're seeing play out right now. These entities saying, well, maybe we need to sell out, and they're having to do it at lower prices, which is a good thing. Yeah. But them having to find more money is why the price might be a bit lower. And what we could see in the coming months is as they maybe decide to go elsewhere, we could see a return to some green candles. Hopefully, that's the hope. But that's been the hope for 3 years. So I don't want to. Yeah. I'm not going to.
Again, like speaking about just the cycle in general with the run that Solana went on in 24, even into the beginning of 25. I mean, that was like a pretty I think even some of the most bullish people that were in Solana in mid to late 23 wouldn't have foreseen or wouldn't have guessed that the Solana run would have gone as crazy as it did and for as long as it did. But the thing is that Solana, both in the context of in its ratio against USD, but also its ratio against ETH as well. It looks pretty definitive that it's topped out. Obviously, there are no guarantees here, but you just look at it from multiple different data points, and it's not going to. There's going to be a solid rotation. There's going to be a continual rotation out of Solana. But and I've touched on this in some of my tweets recently, is that the big question is where would that capital flow? Where will that rotation go into? Because the money has to flow somewhere. So what are your thoughts on that, Abdul?
I think the most obvious thing, just from what's happened before, is that it flows into Bitcoin, and then from Bitcoin into Ethereum, and then from Ethereum into other alts, right? So, like, Solana was a unicorn as far as like a layer one chain this cycle so far, but like when people take profit, like they're going to move, like who are moving to safety. The most obvious safety is Bitcoin. And then when Ethereum gets pumped for whatever reason, then after that, the rest of the alts get it. Solana just happened to stand alone this time.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, there's also the mindset out there and the narratives circulating of Bitcoin as a chance that Bitcoin is actually topped, and that there may not like assuming that the cycle doesn't necessarily play out like it has in the past, and the trend that we've been seeing already just in the first quarter of this year continues on, where it's just basically like a sideways chop, there's going to be probably a breaking point at some place down the line where the assumption that, oh, okay, now cool, I've taken all my profits out of Solana, rotated into Bitcoin. Now just going to happily wait until Bitcoin does its next final leg up to either retest the high or slightly break the high or go even up to maybe 150, 200 or whatever it is. I think that's more of I think some of them will be looking at like hedging them. People will be hedging themselves. That might not be the only way that those investors will hedge themselves, because what if Bitcoin doesn't have another leg?
Yeah, but that it's going to be different this time. Like that's often famous last words type stuff.
Correct. Correct.
Like if we look at like the last cycle when the high was and so on and so forth, like we still have months to really revisit that. Like I think if it doesn't happen in November or December, then we should be worried. Prior to then, I'm not too concerned.
I think I just got the word from 43 that we might need to.
I was going to say, do you guys have you? I do have to wind it up in the next couple of minutes. But do you guys have you lent much thought to the idea of this cycle being a right translated cycle and extending out, like this 4-year cycle maybe dissolving and no longer being a thing? We've always stuck to this idea that it's going to be a 4-year cycle, but in reality, I don't see why it absolutely has to be a 4-year cycle if there are other circumstances which cause it to extend out to maybe 5 or 6 years. What are your thoughts?
No, my thoughts on that is right translated is basically off the cards, because for the fact that Bitcoin has topped when it has topped in January this year, that automatically implies that it's left translated. That can't be right. Like just because it might end up doing a double top much further down the line doesn't necessarily equate it to being a right translated cycle. That doesn't make any sense in my mind as that being a genuine thing. And with regards to the 4-year cycle, just because it's on paper, it looks like it's left translated, or at least slightly left translated, doesn't necessarily mean that the 4-year cycle pattern isn't going to rhyme to a large extent. It just means that the initial top is earlier than usual, which would mean if it does a double top in the bull mania year of 25, then the double top or the higher high will come earlier in the mania year than what it normally would.
When you say double top, do you mean revisiting the previous top of 109 or whatever,
yes,
and then that being it?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so but what if it keeps going? Like what if we keep going and it doesn't end up being a top? It was just a local top on the way to a 150 or a 170.
Yeah. Like if I'm saying, of course, there's the possibility, but I was speaking specifically to the point of in the context of the left translated versus right translated, and the rhyming nature of the 4 years cycle pattern. So given that because normally the initial Bitcoin top happens roughly 12 months after the halvening, whereas this time the top has come in 9 months after the halvening or 10 months. So it's the first new all-time high has occurred sooner, which in the context of the 4-year cycle rhyming, if this isn't the actual top, the January isn't the actual top, and it's going to retest or go higher, it's probably going to happen sooner. So instead of a sort of the general expectation with the 4-year cycle of the retest of the high or a higher high to be around sort of October, November of 25, my guess would probably be closer to July, August, something around there. being where the double top will be, or a higher high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fast Abdul, any last words?
I'm in it for the tech.
T-Bird?
Just it's crazy times. I hope everyone's just doing as much as they can out there to keep themselves psychologically resolved and emotionally resolved. And the saga continues.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on. I was not enjoying being, on my lonesome. So I appreciate that. And people don't spend all your time looking at the prices. Go out and smell the roses. And just remember, we do have when's the deadline for the SEC to do their thing? Is it
April 21st?
April 21st. So it's less than 3 weeks away, guys. So let's look forward to that. Hopefully we get some closure. Something gets resolved in the meantime, which gives us a bit more confidence and gives us something to look forward to. But on that note, have a good weekend, guys, and we will see you next week.
Peace.
Ciao.
You bet.